Hi everyone, and welcome to the Knit California channel. My name is Leslie. I'm a knitter, crocheter, spinner, pattern designer, and yarn enthusiast in Southern California. And today we've got another Hooks and Needles project vlog. I'm really excited to be partnering with Hooks and Needles again and trying out another of their knit kit subscription boxes. I tested out my very first box with Hooks and Needles back in September, so you can go watch that video if you're interested. I knit up a coffee cozy, a cabled coffee cozy, and Hooks and Needles has now sent me my second box. It is a little bit different than the first box. There's different yarn, there's different patterns, there's also like different notions and stuff inside this box because it is my second box versus my first box. So we are going to open it up, we are going to choose a pattern, and I'm gonna knit through all of it, all while those words are not supposed to rhyme. All while giving you my honest feedback about my knitting experience and this box. Okay, let's get into it. The first thing I noticed when I opened up my second Hooks and Needles knit kit subscription box is it's got a different knitting brochure in it, and it's got different yarn, and it did not come with knitting needles this time. So that was a big thing. There were two sets of knitting needles in the first box, and looking through the brochure, it does tell you, since this is not your first knit box, you are supposed to use some of the tools that were in the first box. So in the first box I got the needles, I also got a pair of scissors, and both of those items I can use for this box now. So I kind of like that. It is something like they have thought about, so you already have these tools, you don't need them again. You're not gonna keep accumulating knitting needles or scissors or whatever all of these different notions are that you maybe only need one set of. So that was one thing that I did like about this box. Digging in and looking at the yarn that's in this box. So we have the Hooks and Needles yarn this time, made in Portugal. The yarn is called Sunset Hues. It's 50% organic cotton, 50% organic wool, so a 50-50 wool cotton blend. You can see it's kind of heathered. There's light colors of the yarn, dark colors of the yarn. I think that's definitely like the wool and the cotton mixing in. The cotton would be like the lighter color. Cotton doesn't take dye as easily or as saturated as the wool does. This is 136 yards per 50 grams. It says 100% natural fibers. It's a weight 3 light, which I think, what does that put this at like a DK? And it says to use needle sizes US 4 through 7. So a lot of options here, and we've got two colors, this like red orangey pink and a nice gray, a light gray. It's kind of getting blown out a little bit by my window. And in the brochure, it's these color names again. This is pink, which, yeah, it's kind of pink. I guess it's more of like a corally. I opened it up and immediately thought red, but you know, what do I know? And this is ivory. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, the cotton is definitely white, but the wool I would definitely say is gray, but whatever. And I've got 2 balls of the pink and 1 of the ivory, so total we have 150 grams here. What also is in this box are some wooden craft labels, so you can sew these onto your project, and they say handmade with love. These are really cute. So this is a really nice extra that was included in this box. And then there's also some hardware in here because one of the projects in this book is a bag. So this is like a bag clasp. And that's everything in this month's box that I got. So let's look at the 3 patterns that we have to choose this time. Okay, pattern number 1 Can you see that? Yeah. This is called the Sunset Scarf. So it's an asymmetrical triangle scarf. Let me show you the... Woo. Okay, so that's the shape that it is. And it's basically just a stockinette scarf with some eyelet rose in it. Excuse me? Rocky liked that one. Okay, project number 2. Oh, did I show you? Can you see the eyelet rose in here? So it's like stockinette with little eyelet rose in it. Project number 2 is the baby comfort blanket, and it's a lace pattern with the pink on the bottom and then 2 stripes to fade in the ivory at the top. And it's this all over lace repeat. And then the third project in here is the Knitter's Cable Bag, and this is the advanced project. So you can see that's where the hardware comes in, and it's like a little cabled messenger bag. Okay, so those are the 3 options that we have. If you watched the first video, I explained this, but you only have enough yarn to make one of the projects. So we need to choose which one we like the best. And I think I'm going to actually choose the beginner project this month and make the sunset scarf. I think this is really cute. So one of the things that I learned from last time also is, you know, there's only one set of needles in the box, and it was a 3.5 millimeter needle, which is a US 4. And I used that on my Coffee Cozy, and my gauge was a little bit off. So I am going to play around with my needle size here. For this scarf, it does say to use that 3.5 millimeter needle. It says right here, from your previous box. I'm not going to use that needle because the gauge on this is 17 stitches and 25 rows. I think I need to go up, like, and you know, we all know our own gauge, right? I think I need to go up to at least a 4.5 millimeter needle, if not a 5 millimeter needle, to get that gauge. And I think that'll actually be really nice. Like, I don't know if this yarn is truly a DK weight. It looks maybe a little thin. Maybe this is like more of a sport weight yarn, but using a larger needle size on this, I think will just make the whole scarf, you know, like drapey and airy, especially with that like cotton wool blend. So that's what I think I'm gonna do. It is a scarf now, so it doesn't really matter, you know, if I'm meeting gauge or not. And there's a note in here that says, if your gauge is different than the measurements of your finished if your gauge is different, then the measurements of your finished scarf will also be different. Therefore, this pattern indicates when to change color based on the weight of yarn used rather than the number of rows or the length of work. So that's really nice. I like that. They are thinking about how people may not fully understand gauge and like people may not fully get gauge, and they're going to tell you how to be able to use all of your yarn without that. So that's really nice. Okay, this starts out really simply, casting on 6 stitches. So I think we're just gonna get into it and start knitting this. So let's get into it. Actually, hold on, let me tell you one more thing. So I'm not going to use the hardware that was in this box, but I do think it is really cool that this is included because it is for one of the projects. I'm going to save this. Maybe someday I will want to make a bag or something with a little clasp. Ooh, this could be really cute for like another version of my like knit e-reader cozy, if you wanted to do like a larger one for like an iPad or a laptop and have a little like flap closure. That could be really cute. That's just a little bit of self-promo and idea generation there. But okay, let's get into it now. Woo! Okay, I'm just playing around here. my first 20 rows done here. And so within this 20 rows, we've got one eyelet row. And honestly, some really interesting techniques here for increasing and decreasing. It uses knit front back increases, which they're easy to do, but they look kind of weird. And I don't know, the shaping of this is just kind of interesting. I think maybe it'll make more sense once like it gets bigger and you can kind of see it all together. Right now with just this one section, it kind of looks, right now with just this one section, it looks a little bit wonky, but I think it'll come together. So I'm at the part, I've done the first 20 rows like I said, and now it says to repeat rows 1 through 20 until I've used approximately 50 grams of color 23, ending with a wrong side row. This may be in the middle of a repeat, and then we're gonna switch to the ivory color at the start of the next wrong side row and continue the pattern sequence. So each ball is 50 grams, so as soon as I run out of this ball, I will switch over to the ivory color. So I'll check in along the way, but now I'm just gonna be knitting this up. The pattern, I don't know, I have to like see if I can internalize this pattern. You're not increasing the same number of times on every right side row, which is kind of annoying because I would like to just do that so that I can remember the pattern easily in my head. But I'll see if I can figure it out. Okay, I finished the second repeat. Ooh. I think I'm gonna modify the pattern. I did this the last time I did one of these patterns also, but I don't understand why the increase rows just aren't the same on every row. It doesn't make sense to my brain. It's like making a weird indent here. So that's what I'm doing. I've done 2. I'm putting little stitch markers on, lightning stitch markers, so that I can you see this one? They're red, so they kind of blended. Just so I can mark each of my like 20 row increments in case I need to count something. I did that on the first couple ones because not all the rows are the same. It will help me to remember when I need to do my eyelet rows. So, okay, keep going. Oh, you're so warmy. Did you go outside? What? You're a hot dog. Did you go outside? Hey, Mud. Did I get you? Can you see it? Look, there's Buddy. Sorry if there's a lot of poor audio because I'm using my big camera, my DSLR, and I keep forgetting to plug in the microphone. Whoops. I wanted to show you my progress. Ooh, so I've done, let's see, one. The bottom is like curling, which you can see in the photos. So it's probably fine, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 repeats. And the photos show like, was it 20 repeats? 12, thank God, only 12. Who knows? I haven't measured my gauge yet, so who knows if I'm like on gauge or not. I'm getting down there on my first ball. Maybe I'm like halfway done, but starting to see like the inside bits, which is nice. Actually, let's see. Before the switch, the color change, they have 7, almost 8, like 7.5 repeats before they ran out of the first color. So if I'm on 5, that's only 2 more. I'm gonna try and finish this ball of yarn today just to get as far as possible on this. But yeah, it's going really well. I was considering changing the pattern slightly so that every non-eyelet row was an increase row, and I tested it out, and it just like increased way too dramatically in that section, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm probably gonna run out of yarn sooner than I want to, so I'm just following the pattern, and I have to read every row just to make sure I'm, you know, on like a double increase decrease row or a single increase row, or just, you know, to see what it is. But I'm really liking the feel of this yarn. It's really nice to work with, the 50% wool, 50% cotton, and it's turning out really nicely. And I do think this is pink. I'm not gonna shame the color name anymore. I'm okay with calling this pink versus red, so definitely more of a coral pink, but it's a pink. Yeah, we're gonna keep on trucking along. Okay, hi everyone. It's Friday afternoon. I've got Lillipup over here, and I have finished the first ball of yarn on my sunset scarf. Is that what it's called? Yeah, sunset scarf, I think. Okay, so I've made it through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 eyelet rows. That's almost 8 full repeats. The repeats actually end like in the middle of the sections. Right there, you can see. So now basically I'm going to be switching over to my ivory color, and the pattern just continues as is. We just switch colors. So I wanted to give you that update. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, guess what? I feel like that was Elf. Santa's coming to town. Okay, never mind. I finished my shawl, scarf, sunset scarf. That's what it's called. Yay! So I need to weave in the ends and I'm gonna wash and block it. I'm hoping it'll grow a little bit just so that it gets a little bit bigger, and then I'll show you the final product and wearing it and all that fun stuff. Okay, here it is, my scarf. My sunset scarf is officially done. Let's try to wrap it. Okay, I don't hate it. It's cute. So I was measuring the gauge just to see how close I was to what it said in the pattern, and the pattern gauge is 17 stitches by 21 rows, and a reminder that they recommended you knit this on a 3.5 millimeter needle. I knit mine on a 5 millimeter needle, and I even felt like I probably could have gone up to a 5.5, but my gauge ended up being 19 stitches, so I was off by 2, smaller by 2, and 25 rows, which is the same. So I actually feel like I did pretty good with the gauge. I didn't do a full length measurement of all the different sides. I just don't really feel like I need to do that. I'm happy with the size of this, and I think it looks really good. I think also, see if you can see, just like the stitch definition, like the stitches don't look like they're too tight or too loose. I think the gauge and like the density and, you know, the way the stitches look and feel is is good with the needle size that I used. If I had used a 3.5 millimeter, they probably would have been a little bit too dense, a little bit too squish, and I definitely would have had to do a lot more knitting to get it to the size that it ended up being. So here it is. I started this project on November 7th and I finished this on November 11th. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 5 days-ish. And this was pretty much the only project that I worked on during that time. What was the 7th? Was the 7th a Friday? A Thursday or Friday? And then I spent like all weekend only working on this. I was in the car a lot. We were driving a couple different places on Saturday and Sunday, so I had a lot of car knitting time to work on this. And then I finished it up here at home, just, you know, some meeting knitting and some TV knitting, and then it was done. So overall, I'm really happy with how it turned out. The knitting experience in general, you know, this is a very, well, I would say relatively simple pattern. I do think it was categorized correctly as the beginning pattern out of the 3 in the booklet for this month. There are a couple things that I myself would have changed if I had written the pattern to make it even more beginner friendly. The rows that are not the eyelet rows are not all the same pattern. So the way that this works is there's a couple increases when you start a row, and then there's a decrease towards the last stitches in the row. So you're like increasing 2 and decreasing 1. So that makes this triangle shape, but it also makes like a, you know, the the beginning side, like the right side of the shawl, is at a more significant slant because there's 2 increases over here, and then the left side where the end of the row is also at a slant, but it's like a less dramatic slant because you're decreasing 1. But the rows are not all that way. There are some rows where you're only increasing 1 stitch. There's some rows where you increase 2 but you don't do a decrease, and I don't understand what the rationale is for not having all of those rows just be the same pattern for simplicity. I know that it is to help, you know, make the shape, make the correct angle that they wanted to achieve, and like from that perspective I get it, it makes sense. But for a very beginning pattern, if this was like the first pattern that I was, you know, ever doing as a knitter, I think that would have been a little bit confusing for me, and it could have been a lot easier if all of the rows that were not the eyelet rows were just the same. So that's my only one thing. The other thing, just to make this look better, is I would have added like a slip stitch on the edges. Well, this is my bind off edge, but here I would have added like a slip stitch on this edge to just make it really, really nice. This is the decrease edge, I think, and it actually doesn't look too bad. That decrease there kind of almost gives it like a rolled look, almost like an I-cord would. But I think a slip stitch on both, you know, the first stitch and the last stitch would have just leveled it up a slight touch. But overall, I did enjoy knitting on this pattern. If you're interested in a Hooks and Needles subscription knit kit, I think that these kits are best suited for people who are just starting to get into knitting. Maybe you've done a couple small projects and you're looking to expand your skills a little bit. I like that there are 3 different patterns that are included in each box, and you can choose which pattern suits you for each of the boxes and which one you're most interested in. They do range from beginner to intermediate to advanced patterns in each of the boxes, so you can choose which one suits your level the best. I do think if you are a more experienced knitter, I don't know if this would necessarily be worth it, just because once you get to that point, I feel like we all kind of tend to get a little picky with our projects. So I do think this is great for people who, like I said, are beginning their knitting or crochet journey, since they do have crochet subscription kits as well. But if you're interested in starting your own subscription kit. You can see the link in the description box down below. If you don't click the link, if you just go to the website, make sure you use the code KnitCalifornia20 for 20% off your first subscription. Alright, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this making process, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!